Welcome to The Game Changers, a series of powerful programs serving people who positively transform every relationship and situation by accepting personal responsibility for their professional, relational, financial, and physical wellness. Benefit from being reinvigorated and take yourself to a whole new level. Disrupt the status quo and take personal responsibility for your life. In The Game Changers, you'll learn to live in chaos, unleash untapped potential, focus on positive behaviors, awaken and empower yourself, become outcome focused, thrive in challenging environments, and take your relationships to the next level. Sponsored by Olive Media Network, the Entrepreneurs Network, and the CEO. Now, please welcome your host, Dianne Ojar.
Welcome to the Game Changers. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is your host, Dianne. It's my pleasure to bring all my incredible guests with their incredible stories and sharing. And of course, I'm not going to disappoint because today we're going to switch gears a little bit and have some really life-transforming conversation with my guests. For those who are joining us for the first time on the Game Changers, this is all about bringing these amazing people who are making a difference just like you. And if you want to know how you can make a difference, please let me know. If you've done something incredible, please let us know. Or if you just want to be a guest, please let me know. We're all about fun. And we want to say whatever we discuss today as a disclaimer. This is our experience, our opinions. We're not here to convince anyone. We're just here to share. We may make some suggestions, but be open. You never know how one thing, one idea may change your life. So help me please today to welcome Philomene Cauchois. And I believe she's out in the area of France. Welcome
yes, that's right.
Welcome to the show, Philomene. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So why don't we start off and tell us a little bit about who you are?
So yeah, I'm Philomène. I live in Brittany in France. Basically, I've lived in different places in the world, in the US, in England in the past, and I'm back home, I guess. I've been in France for like 6 years now. And recently I decided that I wanted to have a bigger impact on my community and reach more people to show them that we could live differently and be mindful. So I started to, really kind of think about what I could do and how to have that impact. And I came up with the idea of building a membership to help really busy women who rush so much. They don't really feel like they have any choice over the decisions, but they kind of keen to slow down and still have a creative life, and they don't find inspiration because they don't have any time. So I wanted to, kind of show them that it is possible to have that sort of life that is aligned to their values and to be also mindful of others and the environment. I guess it's also a big part of what I do, without necessarily, kind of resigning all the fun and creative aspects of their lives, just bringing more fun, really. So this is what I try to do now and help others, kind of do that.
Well, thank you for sharing. You are very creative, I can see. You raise chickens. Hey, anybody who raises chickens is creative. I mean, I grew up with chickens running around us, so from where I am in Trinidad, so I understand that completely. And it's fresh, and it could be tasty too. But when you're they're running around, you don't want them to be tasty. Definitely not.
No, so at the moment the chickens are more for the eggs, and
Exactly.
we have them as pets.
Exactly. I don't think the kids would be very happy. Talking about kids, you do something which is getting a little bit more common. However, it's not uncommon, and you homeschool your kids.
I do, yeah.
You live a very sustainable life, very simple life, and it could be because of the area you live in, the choices, and so much more. So tell us a little bit about that, because that will set the tone for some of the things that you have been doing in order to make your family's lifestyle much happier, healthier, rewarding, and we could use so many other adjectives and descriptions too as well. But how do the kids like that? Do they like being home as opposed to not? And they must be young as opposed to in terms of interacting socially out there with other age groups.
So first of all, I don't think we hadn't planned on homeschooling the kids. It wasn't like a life plan. I know some families had that. We didn't. My oldest, when he was ready to go to school, we were living in California at the time, and we visited a few schools, and he didn't want to go at all. So he was the one to lead us to that way. So we kind of fell into it rather than, decided it. But so we've been homeschooling forever now. My oldest is 12 today, so not that young. My other child is 9. So you were talking about being home a lot. We are, because we all work from home. My husband does as well. And this is also a kind of conscious choice about, not driving so much. But saying that, we're not at home a lot because it's funny. Usually people expect homeschooling families to spend a lot of time just being among themselves, which is probably the inverse of what we're doing. Pretty much every day we have activities outside. They have classes all the time. At some point I actually have to say, okay, we're not taking any more now, because this is, I'm not a taxi driver, so I don't want to do that more than that. But so we do see a lot of people, a lot of friends. The great thing about it's not age related, compared to school, where they are in the same classroom with peers that are about the same age. My kids are in groups of children that are all ages. They can be tiny toddler to older teenagers, and I think it's great because it gives that dynamic of being mindful with each other and helping each other no matter the age. And so I quite like that. But yeah, it's a lifestyle that it happened quite naturally, quite fluidly. We didn't really plan things. It kind of added up to each other, and here we are now, having that life that we enjoy.
But that's great because it's their choice, and if they resist against it, then that you're going to have a really challenging time. But it's their choice, so that's a good thing. Which most children don't really want to. They want to go out and socialize. It's ironic.
So one of the things that is important in our family is to respect each other's choices. So especially now, my oldest is 12, I said, and he might come to realize that he wants to experience school and be with more other friends that are his age, and this would be fine. If he wants to try that, I think it's also an important thing to do. We will respect it. And if we as parents don't feel comfortable in homeschooling anymore, because that could happen as well, that's also something that should be respected. So it's all about the dynamic and respecting each other's choices and understanding each other. It's I think it's important.
That's like 2 jobs. You host 3 jobs, because you have your job, career, then you have the homeschool, and then you have being a mother, a caretaker. And then you're also a taxi driver. So that's a whole other story.
Well, it's a mom's job. That's part of the mom's jobs, right? The taxi driving.
Enjoy it while you can, because there's going to be a point in time when everybody leaves the nest or goes away, and you're like, Oh, I wish I should have done more, spend more time. It's just so much time. They will want to break away at some point in time.
Yeah, I know that. That. I think it's also another realization that I had. At some point, I was thinking, okay, I was running a lot, and I didn't really want to miss out, or I didn't want to feel like, I was doing so much, and then eventually I realized that I missed the most important. So I kind of made sacrifice, especially, around my career and things like that. But, I feel okay, when they're gone, I will be free of, any chores or all the tasks that I have to do now, and I will be able to get back to other things. So today I choose carefully what I invest my time in, and I'm mindful about that.
You think you're going to have time? No, as they get older, that's not going to happen. Keep dreaming about that for me. Keep dreaming. Yeah, one day we'll see what happens. That's when they get a little bit more needy, demanding. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to hang out with you anymore. So get the hugs and kisses while you can, because soon that's not going to be there. That's true. You talk about being sustainable. You talk about living that lifestyle. And you're teaching your children, you're teaching your clients, you're teaching your community how to eat better. We talk about slow foods, which, I thought it was digesting it, but it's more organic, live in the moment, live in the
Yeah.
moment. And again, eating what you have, like you said, as we were chatting a little bit before, what's available, because everything that's imported, more or less, not everything, has been altered or grown for, you know, import to export. So we can import it here, but it's not usually healthy for the body. So you go local. You encourage people
Yeah.
to go local, what's in the season. And it really also gives everybody an opportunity, particularly your family, to try different things that's available and not get stuck with, oh, I only want this, I don't eat this. So pretty much they grow up with a very balanced diet, or the foods that you have accessible, obviously, where you live. So even doing that as well, you're teaching the alternate lifestyles for people. And it's not only foods, you talk about, doing creative stuff, crafts and everything. Live in the moment. Really live in the moment,
Yeah.
present. So let's talk a bit about that. And we'll talk about the carbon, footprint down the road, because, and if it does, connect here, obviously, or vice versa, however you want to approach it. And first let's talk about foot the footprint and what it means, and then we can talk about that, because it all connects. It all connects. But first of all, where did this come from? Why did you choose to do all of this? Is my question. You must
Um,
something happened. There must be a revelation somewhere.
so it's quite funny, because I think a lot of my life happened very, organically, like just one thing led to another. I've been eating like organically pretty much all my life. Even when I had very little food, very little money as a student, I was trying to eat less, but just better quality. It wasn't necessarily organic at the time, but at least it was local, and just veggies and fruits as much as I could, and things like that, and whole grains. But I guess what did a bit of a switch, like in my life, was when we moved to California in Berkeley. That was like, I met a lot of people that were really mind-blowing, and they introduced me to all sorts of knowledge that I hadn't encountered before. So that was very interesting. In terms of the holistic lifestyle, and the way that food could impact how we were feeling and things like that. So that kind of planted the seed a little more, and I went from there. I guess it was very easy in California, because so much grew there. And all year round.
Definitely very interesting place. If you want Really and truly, not to take away from what you're saying, is that if you really want to experience a very different lifestyle,
Yeah.
the one there and New York are some of the places you need to visit. There's no question, but particularly California, because the lifestyles, the mentality, the accessibility to lots of things, not so good things, is easily readily available. So yeah, I could imagine just in my mind, and you look at the expression in your face, some of the things that you were exposed to. However, let's move on.
Yeah, and it was also some people, I didn't meet that many people from California exactly. They were coming from everywhere, so it was a lot of different cultures, different habits, and that was great because, you know, I got to learn so many different things. And yeah, it planted a lot of seeds. And then when we moved back to France, I kind of thought, okay, this is where we're at now. What do we want? We got to kind of create a life from scratch again, because we bought a house and we got new jobs. You know, we kind of had to do everything again. So we decided to buy a house in the countryside and to focus mainly on having land rather than, you know, a house that has all the convenience. Or we had different kind of priorities. So that was great, because we got to really tailor the life that we wanted. And one of the aspects that we really wanted to continue was to eat locally and eat with the season, and, you know, organically as much as possible. So when we moved here, I looked around all the farmers that were like the options, and I used to subscribe to vegetable boxes that were delivered in, you know, in my house when my kids were small in California. So I looked for that in here, but I live in the middle of nowhere, literally. Like I don't have any, you know, neighbor or anything. So nobody wanted to deliver me. I was living way too far. So I was a bit disappointed at the beginning. I was like, oh no, well, I'm going to have to drive so much to get all my produce. But in the end, I found out that it was a great asset to live in the middle of nowhere, because I actually live like right in the middle of farms. And I found some farmers like right next to my door I can go to, and they actually, you know, created small shops where they resell each other's. So I can go like once a week to pick up my veggies, my cheese, like everything. They, you know, it's like a small shop in which they participate, even like different farmers and everything. So we got that ecosystem like put into place around like where we lived. And yeah, it all fell into place. Like it took some time, some research, but it makes so much sense. Like now it's nice. I go to buy my food from people I know. I know they grow the food, and they're also very kind. And, you know, there's this connection that we lose a lot.
They become
Yeah.
family. It's like a flea market, essentially, where they're like family, and this is what it is. But apart from that, you know, it's a protective space. You know, it's people who will look out for you and after you if something happens. If you live in the middle of nowhere in France, do you have snow where you live?
No, it's not far from the seaside, so
Well,
it's
you're
kind of
lucky.
temperate.
You're lucky then. So, but the fact is, you have people that you know, you associate, you get together from time to time if that's the case, and yes, they do look out for everyone. So that's a community, a tribe in its own.
Yeah, it's a community. It really feels like you know, especially during COVID, it kind of hit like really. It hit me at that time. I was like, okay, like depending on all these things coming from far, it makes no sense. In France, we weren't allowed to drive more than a kilometer. Like during COVID, it was forbidden. And I was thinking, okay, if I can't go like further than a kilometer, I've got hardly anything. I'd better, you know, look for all the things locally. because if for any reason I can't, go anywhere far, then I don't have anything. And then I kind of thought, okay, my community needs to be around me, and I need to look after it, and it will work likewise. Like, they also, you're right, they do look after you. Like, when I have a cold, the farmer I go to, they call me and they ask me if I want to be delivered, and it's very nice.
Yeah, but so that helped build, because you talk about, first of all, let's have a definition, as you mentioned before, about the carbon footprint. People don't understand the word carbon. Now, we do know carbon is cleansing, it's healthy. They use carbon for filtration and so forth, right? Obviously, and so forth. So the concept of having a carbon footprint, did it come from this organic, being fresh in the moment? Is that where this concept, I mean, the concept has always been there, but you started to follow this and you started to share this with others. Is that where it came in, because you went in the middle of nowhere?
So I think for me, like, looking into the carbon footprint meant like really finding out how much was involved into producing or into doing things, like in terms of maybe petrol, or maybe like human, involvement into like pesticides that were used, all the things that have been used to produce something, or what it costs to the planet. I guess this is really what it comes down to. Sometimes we feel like, oh yeah, so let's say maybe I buy a t-shirt and it's going to be like $10. Then I'm thinking, okay, that cost me just $10. Okay. But then the carbon footprint is so much more than that. It's going to be like who sewed that product, the human aspect of it. It's going to be, before that, who dyed that garment, and what was used, how much water was used into that, and like how much the dye that was used into it, did it pollute the water? So did it have an impact on the water as well? And then even before that, how the fiber was produced, how much water was consumed, like were there pesticide in it? And it's all the kind of chain of producing that product, and then it's been traveling. So it probably went into an airplane, and then there was petrol, in the airplane to fly to you. And then it was probably into a plastic bag. That plastic bag is also, a product like from plastic. And it's like the whole chain that leads to one thing to another. And the more you have steps, the further it comes from, the more you will have a bigger footprint. Like the carbon footprint is going to be bigger. So if you try to cut down all those steps and go like it, rather than, for example, buying coconut milk, it's like a big pain point for me because I love it. But obviously it doesn't grow in France at all. So buying coconut milk, it's going to have a huge, impact on the environment for me, because it comes from so far. And the alternatives that I'm going to have locally are going to be very different, but they will have less impact on the environment. I'm hoping it makes sense. Like,
absolutely. And I'll tell you why. First of all, with the coconut milk, everything that we buy that's canned, or whether it's packaged, depends on package, because coconut milk does not only come in cans, it comes in packages, it comes in powder. There are chemicals and preservatives. Of course, you just grate your coconut, you boil it, you squeeze the juice out, and you get your own milk, obviously, right? Because we've used coconut in the Caribbean for like eons. Obviously, we're in the Caribbean. But I so resonate with what you're saying. I mean, not to the depth that you described it, that you check every single point, because then
I'm not saying.
No, I know. I mean, no, I get that. I'm saying if somebody goes, no, I understand what you're saying, because you want to know the source. You want to know the source so you can make a conscious, holistic decision. Because one of the things we have to make sure is that if we're doing anything, when you talk about, you're talking about child labor, where it came from, I mean, you're going to address all of this. That's not something you want to feed into, because it's all about energy, and we got to know where this is coming from. However, the other side, I do understand what you're saying, because from time to time, even if I pick cherries here from a tree myself, sometimes it affects me and sometimes it will not affect me if I get it or buy it from somewhere. Which I don't eat. Sometimes strawberries would, or even, apples would, and sometimes it will not. So I am sensitive to quite a few things. I cannot eat Swiss cheese. It irritates my mouth. It doesn't blister, but it irritates my mouth. Or even the banana pickled peppers you put in, like as a condiment. I can't have that. I think it's the vinegar. I'm not a crazy vinegar. Oh, but it's just that one. But I could have relish. I could have other things. So I understand. But one of the most important things I do understand when you talk about dye, I'm allergic to hair dye. I'm very sensitive to a lot of things, but I'm not a instant on the spot. I'm like a 24 hours action. And I was a very sick baby when I was allergic to a problem. So that footprint could come in different forms and shapes and times is in me, but hoping that I could only use only one type of washable hair dye, which doesn't really help much because it washes out faster. So I get to what you're saying. I always make this joke, and I'm going to say this publicly. We're here with Philomene Cauchois out from France talking today about something a little different, how she's making a difference in the community, how she's sharing, she's educating people about living a more whole life, a more holistic life from a different perspective. I always joke about this when someone buys underwear, for example. Clothes is one. But you talk about going on the plane, you don't know where it was in. We also talk about the time someone had gotten infected and died from drinking from a Coke can. Because I have this thing about drinking from can. First of all, I don't drink pop, but except ginger ale. You drink directly from a can. That it was documented once somebody, because you don't know where it's been sitting, what rodents have been around, and they got sick and they died. And this was a story many years ago. So I still have a beef about that when I see people drinking out of a can. I had to drink out of a can, coconut water, by the way, on the weekend, and it drove me crazy because I was like, oh gosh, it really disturbed me because I was looking around for a cup and I couldn't find a cup. So I have this beef about that. But anything that's coming next to the skin, particularly. So you got to wash your delicates, your underwear and so forth before it touches the skin, even in particular. I mean, if you buy a dress in the store and you can't wash it or dry clean it on the spot, okay, I can understand. But something that's going to be breathing straight into your pores in your very private, precious areas, you got to be cautious of who, what, why, where it came from. So I understand what you're saying completely because I know I am a sensitive to a lot of things. So I do understand and get it.
I would actually, so it's a rule so in our house, we try to buy a lot secondhand clothes, or I make a lot of clothes as well. I'm a maker big time. So it was actually my kind of life job. I used to be a fashion designer. So,
oh, yes.
But I guess it's contradicting now my values. So I don't want to make a lot. I make a few pieces that we keep for a long time, and the rest we try to either buy secondhand or, but with the kids it happens, we sometimes have to buy new. It's okay. I can't spend hours like thinking about things a lot. Like sometimes you make choices and it's okay if they're not perfect, and so we do buy things new as well, and it's a must have. We need to wash the clothes first. I know like how toxic those dyes are in the garments. Like there's no way we shouldn't. It's just so bad for the health. Like even not just undergarments, like anything, wash them at least once.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, and I'm saying particularly undergarments. I mean,
yeah,
next to your body, okay? Particularly, but yes, definitely so. And I have that mental. Am I perfect and religious and doing it all the time? Probably not. I'll be guilty and say that, but I do my best. But I remember once I had bought a pair. This is eons and eons ago. and it was from a company called Blue Note. No big deal. I think they're still around. But this jeans was so blue. Doesn't matter how many times you washed it, it was still, the dye was still it just
Running.
the water it was still running. And it was
Mm.
incredible. I couldn't believe. So you couldn't wash that with other jeans. So I never really used to wear it because it was annoying just to wash it.
Oh, and you probably turned out to have like blue legs as well.
It's been a long time. I don't even know what happened to it. Different jeans and different fit. It was a different fit too as well. But just to show, yes, this is what happens. So how has this changed your mentality about everything holistically? And when you speak, when you speak to clients, who are the clients you're looking for in terms of educating them about what you do? Because you have a subscription to what in particular?
So my clients would be people that are conscious that they could do better for the environment, and sometimes they have guilt because they don't have time to do better, or they don't know where to start, or but they want to eat healthily, make conscious choices in terms of what they wear, or like what they choose for the kids, things like that. I think they have done that first step of like knowing they could do something. Quite often they are like stuck and they don't really know where to start, and this is where I help. I basically give ideas of like small steps they can take to go ahead and have like maybe a more like healthy diet, or like consume less plastic products into the kitchen, in their kitchens, or things like that. This is where I will kind of provide help. So I can help them also with so in the memberships it's like we have different themes, so we don't do everything at once. Just so it's clear, because I don't want it to be overwhelming. The idea is really to do like baby steps, and one step at a time we do build something like that will bring secured habits afterwards, and things that are easy to keep on doing.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
You have to start with the mindset. First of all, they have to be ready and willing and know that their life will be exposed and stripped, because you're like pretty much an organizer to a certain degree. You start organizing their lives. But if they don't do the work and say, no, and it's about attachment. It's about, being not ignorant. And some are, and some are just naive because they don't know what they don't know. But then again, there's a lot of people are throwing out a lot, and companies are throwing out a lot of information out there, which is so confusing. And it makes it sound simple, but sometimes it's not, because you have to do the work. You have to do the work and change your lifestyle. Because if you're changing your lifestyle, you're not only changing your lifestyle, you're changing your whole family's lifestyle. And some of people in the family may not be happy about that. So you're going to have to show pictures, because of course you work remotely. So you have to show pictures of everything and say, okay, we need to clean this out, and we need to clean this out. And we need to, maybe you need to change this. Well, how long have you used this? Because it's really, again, coming back to, and we will always come back to what this is about, energy and how they resonate with this. But change is going to happen. And we got with the times. And if you do, and I say this every show, every time, if you don't want to grow, that's it. You will be stuck. So you got to take action and say enough is enough. So they contact you and say, I don't like what's going on. I don't want to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
Because we were talking a little bit, not to take away from your answer, sorry, your response. Now we're talking about living to ripe old age. And my great grandparents on my mom's side lived to over 115 and 125. And this is what I was told a couple of times. So I'm assuming this is correct. But my great aunts and because their lifestyle was different, they were living the lifestyle we are talking about now. So it's nostalgic, it's coming around. So it's not that
Yeah.
you're not reinventing the wheel.
No.
You're not.
Mm.
You're
Um,
starting from scratch. We're just looking back at the lifestyles because they had a family, they were working in the fields, they were cleaning, they were cooking, they cooked everything they could put their hands on around the neighborhood, things I would not even touch, but they were eating it. They were healthier because I didn't know about cancer and so forth. So you're
I
working
think,
with these
yeah.
clients who you first have to change their mindset. So you got to work with them with the mindsets first. So give me an example of what you would do the first thing when you speak with them, because there's an intake and you have to know that, okay, are you willing to do what I say that I ask you to do because you're coming to me for help. But describe one of your clients, like how desperate they are when they come to you.
So
Wrap it
usually,
all up. Mhm.
so usually when they come to me, they have the kind of beginning mindset. They know they want to change habits. They have probably tried a few things already, and it's difficult to put in place at home, or it won't last in time. And yeah, they often get resistance at home, especially from kids. We're not gonna lie.
That's right. Absolutely. Don't change.
So,
Don't move this.
So the way I approach things usually is to not change radically things, but like to find creative ways to do small changes and to make it more acceptable. So for example, if we talk about food, like diet and all, I can understand how whole grain food and like veggies, and it's not very easy sometimes to change, especially for kids. So we will find ways like that are not as bad. So for example, if we were eating like ketchups and mayonnaise and things like that, then I would suggest to try some fermented ketchup. I have a recipe. It's easy to make. You can make it with the kids, and if they participate, they're more likely to try it at least. And it's introducing small things like that will be easy. It's just one step, and they can try it. And then if they don't like it, it's okay. They might come back to it later. And
hold that thought for a moment. Hold that thought for a moment. Let's go back to your fermented ketchup.
Yeah.
First of all, one of the foods, pizza is like one of the worst foods a diabetic can eat. On so many different levels. But I love it. And yes, I love it with pineapple. Figure that out. In the States, they don't eat pineapple. That's unheard of. No, but in Canada, we do. And I love it. And that didn't start in Canada. It started in Trinidad, actually, to tell the truth, when I was young. Let's go back to fermented. Now that you bring up something in my mind, and I apologize if we're going in different ways, whatever the flows. No, live with it. In terms of making your own fermented ketchup, it must be a simple recipe that the sugar content, of course, because if you're diabetic, it's good for some of the recipes you have to make your own mayo, your own sugar, because we don't have the preservatives. But again, for the fermented ketchup, hypothetically, as opposed to the different brands, and there's so many different brands, it's healthier, but is it very high in sugar too as well?
No. So my husband's...
Is there any sugar in it? Is there any sugar in it in the first?
So my husband has got pre-diabetes, so and it's the genetic type. So
yes,
we really have to keep it low for him to not develop the big thing. So it's a big thing in my house. Sugar is like under control.
Now we are talking. Now we are talking. Now you have my attention. And no, because my family is as well as a type 2, and of course, one of the things, exercise is not my friend, or being very outside. I'm not an outside person. So let's talk about the lifestyle. Even if it's one thing we get from today, how we can make things. I know I never even thought about making. I know we can make anything, but talking about something like a staple, like ketchup, for example, could be a dramatic change lifestyle in your carbon footprint as opposed to buying those ingredients. Because I use ketchup in everything. I cook with it, everything. So
yeah,
tell us, please.
So It has a bit of sugar. You don't have to put it, but mine has a bit of sugar. You know, I advise to put honey in it. And it, acacia, I think it's English. Yeah. Acacia honey has a lower level of sugar in it than regular honey. So it's an option. This is what we do in our house. We put just a bit of acacia honey in it, and my husband is allowed to eat it. And it's very limited. Like, I think it's I can't remember the recipe is on my website. It's available for free, so you can check it out. It's like, I think it's probably like 1 tablespoon for a big jar of ketchup. So it's very small amount of sugar, and you could probably drop it altogether if you want. But we cook everything like normally. So we eat pizza, but we use whole grain spelt flour to make the pizza. And we do a sourdough pizza. So it's not as, hard on the digestion either. We eat like pasta, but we eat whole grain wheat pasta. We drop, we eat everything normally, but it has lower content of sugar, and it's also great for your fibers, for your proteins. It's better for
carbohydrates, because that's the enemy
absolutely
of diabetes. Definitely.
Yeah.
So just one thing, everyone, please go out and check out her recipes, because that could make the difference in a simple thing like that, changing the lifestyles with the recipes. And you never know what's going to happen. You may like it, and again, you may not. But sometimes what we don't like is good for us. Okay, so we have a conscious awareness of what it is and what it's not. But wait, do you make your own pasta?
Sometimes.
See,
sometimes.
Not all the time. You live out in the boomy, so you have to make.
If I have time. But so just about the taste, you were saying you might not like it. I do believe that our taste buds got used to a lot of sugar, and we need to retrain them. Yeah, and salt, and we need to retrain them, and it does take time. So we need to give more than just one chance to ingredients. Especially those fermented food, because they taste funny when you try them for the first time. The first time I tried sauerkraut, I was like, now I love it. It takes time, and it's okay. It's just getting used to it.
So how many? We're gonna stick on the ketchup. How many ingredients are we looking at in this recipe, average, roughly, just to show people it's not
for the ketchup? Yeah,
ketchup.
So I don't want to say something wrong, but I think it's like 3, maybe 4.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's very easy. See, the only thing is with the fermented ketchup, because there's fermentation.
Wait. We got to do a show with you showing us how to make this ketchup.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm sticking on the ketchup story, because it's not something, and I'm not saying it's for everyone. I'm not saying anybody doesn't do this, but definitely it's not something, unless it comes to the consciousness, it's presented to you to think about. There's, let's say 5 to be conservative. Okay, let's say 5 ingredients, give or take, whatever, with the honey or not. That can make a dramatic change in your lifestyle. First of all, it's a different healthy product. Then you also will start to possibly want to make more organic stuff homemade to store it. You also would know that you don't make it to last lifetimes, because ketchup can last a long time. So when you make it in portions, you make it enough because it's fresh. So you're changing the way, and I'm telling you, there's a reason for everything, folks. Who is going to make me learn how to make homemade ketchup.
It actually lasts a long time, I'm sorry, but it's fermented. It's fermented, so it doesn't go bad.
Well, it doesn't go bad, but I'm saying if you want to make smaller batches, so it could be, encouraged to make smaller batches. So this way they get used to making fresh things, as opposed to make it for a lifetime and so forth. But yeah, everything fermented is fine. Now you have me so intrigued, and I'm going to look at that. Definitely so. It's Girl, I'm stuck on this ketchup. You have no idea.
So I'm not going to go into mayonnaise and mustard as well, because I do that.
Oh, I love mustard. I am a mustard person. I put mustard in potato salad. And people say to me, what this it tastes the secret is mustard. However, you sprinkle it, you don't have to, but it's some reason it works. You sprinkle a tiny, tiny little bit of sugar on it to offset if you don't like it that tiny. However, it's so tiny you wouldn't even know it's there because the potato has the carbohydrates, everything else is there. So you have all the sugar in there in any case, and the mayo and so forth. So now you got me thinking, see, this is a game changer. She's a game changer. This is what we're talking about, changing our lifestyle. We're just having this conversation here. And of course, she's changing the way I'm thinking. Why? For my health. So I don't have to do the exercises. So I don't have to do those things. And this is the difference. How we can have someone making us, just with a simple conversation, opening our little brain or box here that's so tight, and we never want to make a change in our lives because it seems easy, and to others and ourselves it seems very challenging and complicated, but it's not. So if you can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, I think we have different levels, and it's okay. We don't start from the same place, all of us.
I got to preach about this ketchup now, girl. I got to preach about this ketchup. I'm telling you. So you need to do some shows about how to make the ketchup if you haven't done that yet, and the different products, because, reading it is one, but I'm seeing is believing. So when I see someone doing it, okay, you want to make sure I do it the right way.
You know what? I'm going to do a reel on Instagram for you. So I show you how I do it, and you'll see it's like a matter of, let's say, 10 minutes max. It's 2 steps, and one step is 1 month ahead of the other one. So you need to be patient, but it's
that's a format.
Yeah, exactly. Basically that, yeah.
Absolutely. So, as we are getting closer, and this conversation could go anywhere. We're here with Philomene talking about footprints and having a more holistic, and most people think about holistic as being only spiritual. It's not. It's about living a better, healthier lifestyle. It has nothing to do with only health, lifestyle. It has to do with your relationships, your finance, of course, your health, your journey, your career, in a wholeness in one. And we really have to be conscious about what we do going forward. Because when we see what's going on and people who are leaving us, the age group is ridiculous. It's a lot of young people who have now started to live their lives. And it's just after retirement or prior to retirement, because for whatever reason. So what are some of the tips you can give us, or some of the things you have done as a checklist? And I'm sure you have a checklist somewhere. You have everything. That you can give our audience today about where to start. And of course, they can go to your contact and website to find out more. But if someone could do something today from a checklist, and just give us a short checklist, but if it's one thing you can share with us that you would recommend that they can do today, which is effortless, what would that be? And not forget our checklist.
I think it would start with getting in touch with yourself. Just, getting in touch with what you want, whether you take care of yourself, whether you take time to really, do things that nurture yourself. Really taking care of yourself. I think it's the one thing to start, because there's no way you can be there for anyone else if you're not for yourself to start with.
But that's not it's not a disrespect. It's easy to say, but that's a process.
Yeah.
process. So let's start with something that could be done today. Go to maybe it's go to your pantry and start eliminating food.
Oh, that's a big thing. I think, I don't know. I think I would start with like just taking, 1 hour and just 1 hour for myself and do something that I really enjoy.
Self-care.
Yeah, self-care. Yeah. And maybe it's going to be, eating some good food, like something that you're not feeling guilty about, but, makes you feel good. Maybe it's going to be taking some time to paint, even if you don't know how to paint. Maybe it's something you've, been wanting to try for years. Yeah, just taking that one step to take care of yourself. I don't think it would be, I wouldn't advise anyone to, go, okay, you could start like now and go zero waste and, change radically what you're eating, just get rid of like all the white flour and things like that. I think that would be just very difficult to make it last. I think it's easier to first, kind of go to yourself and feed yourself and feel good, and then take actions around the rest.
Yeah,
But
I agree. One of the things we also can look at, and there's no right or wrong, it's your choice. But looking at the types of, because I'm just thinking about my pantry, looking at the types of foods that we have in there. That's,
mhm,
I don't say you have to get rid of it. You can share it with someone else, but just be conscious of what you're buying and be a little
yeah,
bit conscious of, because if you're buying it, it's in the pantry, you're not eating it, then
waste.
buy it.
Mm,
It's right. And of course, and it's just because I say, no, you have it just because. So if we say, okay, how much of this do I eat a day and analyze it, you can start anywhere. The point is, you start somewhere where you know that it will make a difference to you. Baby steps, whatever you feel. If you're into self love, self care, yeah. If you haven't treated yourself in a moment, if you haven't smiled or laughed, go to the park, watch your kids, do something. That's fine. If you want to do something with close to home and get to your health, sit down and write a journal. Like, I'm sure you probably
yeah,
write a journal of what are you doing? What did you eat? How did it make you feel? Because your body will tell you what's good or not. As
yeah.
we are wrapping up here, first of all, tell us where we can find you.
So my website is creativitytochangeeverything.com. I have the same handle on Facebook and on Instagram. Instagram is a place where I share the most. I share pretty much daily things, a lot about my just life. You can see where I live, sometimes my chicken, my cats, all of that. And then I send out every week a newsletter in which I go into, it's like a heart-to-heart kind of like letter that I send out. I usually, just have a kind of, well, I would say a conversation, but no, it's with myself. So, but you know what I mean? Like
Those
I
are the
do.
best. Those are the best. Listen, if you can't have a conversation, it's easy to have a conversation with someone else. But having a conversation with oneself, it is not as easy as people believe. And it is also as easy as people believe. It all depends on you. How honest
Well,
you
yeah.
are, how really you want to be. Because I always say to people, and I write books and so forth, and I say, if you can't have this conversation with yourself, you have to be honest. If you can't have it, then you have to be honest and say, okay, why can't I have this? And if you're having it, be honest. You can't lie to yourself. Your subconscious, unconscious mind will smack you around, and that's where you will tend to get sick because your body is saying, wake up, people, wake up, silly. This is what you need to do. So yes, you can say yes and you can say no, but you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So great you're having conversations with yourself. As we're wrapping up here, what is something you want to leave with our audience today? And thank you, audience. And I want to thank you for joining us and talking about the chickens and the kids and everything else. So what is your words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with today, Philomene?
Well, I do. I think I want to make people realize that we can change things, that the situation we are in right now and the state of the planet and everything that is happening right now, we can change it. Even if we are just one person, even if we don't have, the power of some other people, or just our actions, they have an impact. And, we can make it a good impact. And I do think we should all try, at least.
You're absolutely right. We really should make an attempt to do something. If we try, sometimes we sit on the fence. So either you do it or you don't do it. But if you don't do it, you take responsibility for making that decision of not wanting to do it. And don't go pointing the finger to anybody and say, I couldn't do it because da da da. Or Philomene told me I could do it. No. That's the problem we have. We don't want to take responsibility. So I want to thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us and sharing. And yes, I want to see that ketchup and the mustard and the mayo. Listen, when I grew up, we did not eat mayo on sandwiches. Okay, that's now people like put mayo on everything. You go to McDonald's and places. I was like, no, don't put no mayo. Mayo is not for sandwich, as far as I'm concerned. It's for potato salad and pasta salad. That's what it's there for, not a mayo to put on sandwiches. So yes, I use mayo, but I don't use it for everything. But there's some people who I saw a girl once put mayo on curry on top of the food, and I was like, what? Mm. So thank you so much again for joining us, and for everyone out there. We have to do our part in regards to we hear about, everybody talking about the carbon footprint and what they're doing. But what are you doing in your own life to make changes? And there's the carbon footprint in the food that you eat, in the environment, but there's also a carbon footprint within. It's a footprint. And what you put into your body is also a footprint. And that's where we say we're changing. We're changing the dynamics in our body. We're changing so many things. Whatever. I don't want to plant and put in, label it to what you're doing, but just know that whatever we do within, there's also a footprint. And footprints are beautiful because you're making a huge difference. People will watch you and people will think, like, what is she on? And she's on life, and she's on self-love, and she's on a high, a good high, a natural high. And living and spending time with your family is something we don't do. Homeschooling is not for everyone, but it's something you want to try. It's the new norm. We had to do it for quite some time. And this was done from our ancestors and our grandparents and possibly our parents. Depends on how old you are. So I want to say, make a conscious choice and decision about where you buy, what you put into your body, what you bring into your home. Correct? Am I
Yes,
correct? Right?
absolutely.
It starts there. And we guarantee you that if you play 100%, let me repeat that, please. I guarantee you, if you play 100% to make the choice and change, you will get 100% of the effort and the actions that you make and you take. Always 100%. If you do nothing, you get 100%. If you do 10%, that's 100% of what you put into there. So make the conscious decision today to start making a difference, because there's only one you, and there are many And I'm going to make a disclaimer here. There are many, many illnesses that you can reverse before it gets to a point of no return. So this is Dianne and Philomene saying, go make the healthy ketchup and the mustard and the mayo. I'm so stuck on that. And more. Check out her recipes. Teach someone else. Share this with someone else. Because she made a conscious lifestyle and a conscious decision to make changes and differences in her and her family. And that's where it starts. So from us to you, on the Game Changers, I want to say this is Dianne, saying thank you, Philomene, for being here with us and having some fun. You know, sometimes we go off in a different direction because of what comes to mind, and hey, we can, and it's fun. So I want to say thank everyone for joining us, and join us next time. And the last words is that do something for yourself today, that tomorrow when you wake up and say, I feel good, I did that. And it's one baby step at a time. That's all we're suggesting to you and asking you to do it for yourself. So take care and see you next time on the Game Changers. Take care. Ciao.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to The Game Changers, sponsored by Olive Media Network, the Entrepreneurs Network, and the CEO. Hit us up online at thegamechangers.ca, mediaolive.ca, and think10.ca. That's think10.ca. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.